As always, after calling to order, we have an item of public comments, and I don't see any public seeking recognition. The next item on the agenda is finance. The treasurer's report was enclosed in an email to all of us. And I'll welcome Mary responding to that, and to I had another item here, treasurer's assistant, which she could speak to if she wants. Go ahead, Mary. You're muted. I'm not sure how you're muted. I can't see a symbol for it. Yeah, you are muted. Hey. I'm still muted. Okay.
They don't show that you're muted, Mary, but maybe your microphone's off. It doesn't say you're muted, but we can't hear you.
Maybe if she logs off and logs back in.
Yeah, because we can hear you, Matt. So I'm
Yeah.
checking. So I think it's working here.
Yeah.
And I think she heard us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move to the consent agenda while Mary is logging out and logging back in. So there's a warrant. There's a warrant for, is that Mary? No.
On back in.
What did I do? Oh, yeah. And so there's a warrant for November 10th, which includes the stipends for the board that were just mailed out. You should have received payment to Mary Rogers for, I think that's a quarterly payment on her treasurer's salary. Taxes on all those, payroll taxes on those, and to the Vermont Department of Taxes. And the second part of the warrant is vendors has invoice to Catamount TV for television of meetings, $150, $50 to Lori for minutes. Long Trail School, there was a student attending, still is attending Long Trail School, and we didn't get an invoice in time for the last month or for September, so we're making up for that payment. The village school tuition for the month of November, and then we're reimbursing the village of North Bennington. I think that's for prepayment expenses on taxes. Is that right, Mary? Just wave at me. I can't. Yeah, okay. She can't hear me either. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's basically the prepayment on taxpayers who have get money from the state to help them meet their property taxes. We're reimbursing the village for that. And that's it. So I'll entertain motion to accept the consent agenda as is.
Motion.
Okay. That was Kiernan made the motion.
I'll second.
Kim is seconding. Okay, thanks.
And Kim second. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, let's get the consent agenda passed. All in favor of the consent agenda, approving it, raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Well, you can't say aye if you're muted, Matt.
Aye.
Okay. Kiernan,
Aye.
okay, thank you. All right, so we'll go back to Mary's question. Mary had a question, which was lease payment. And she has not received the lease payment from the village school. So since Tim's here, I'll ask him about that. He may not know.
I will follow up and make sure.
Okay. Thank you. Policies, there are none. So we're to superintendent's report.
Good evening. Not much other than we're in budget season, as I'm sure you're not surprised by this. It doesn't directly impact you at this phase, but it does when we set the SU budget. But the meetings with principals to set their budgets is ongoing now, which then will come December, we'll be holding those SU budget meetings. That's the first one that we want to begin. We have to have that settled so we can do the assessments. We continue to deal daily with COVID positive cases that require contact tracing and quarantine for those who aren't vaccinated. Vaccinations, as you know, is now being rolled out. We're for those younger than 12 through the hospital, not in our school buildings. But we're also working with our partners on that to try and reach populations that may have difficulty. Someone's coming to the meeting, getting to that site to get vaccinated. We're also going to begin test to stay. We've got our waivers for that, our approvals. Our nurses have gone through training and we hope to have that up and running the Monday after February Thanksgiving vacation, so that we have a better shot at keeping everyone in the building. That's for those who aren't vaccinated. We can test them to see if they're positive. If they're not, they can stay rather than requiring them to go home or quarantine. So hopefully that will be an improvement and less impactful for what's going on right now for how many cases, because we've had to date 13 positive cases at Bennington Elementary, 9 at Molly Stark, 5 at Monument, 7 at Pommel, 8 at Shaftesbury, 0 at Woodford, and 0 at Early Education. I don't know. And each one of those cases then require contact tracing and then resulting in quarantining with that.
Right. The test to stay reduces your contact tracing.
That's the hope. It won't be necessary. Yeah.
Yep. And it keeps kids in school.
Keep the kids in school. Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. We are in this, as you know, I think I mentioned in previous meetings, we're still continuing to pursue. The SU signed a letter of intent to look at another property other than this building for the central office of the supervisory union, mainly because of the difficulty this building has in making ADA requirements. So we're in meetings with the architect and the developer this time, develop plans so that we can get actual cost estimates to see if this is even feasible. Letter of intent is not a contract, it's not binding. It's just our intent to move forward then we can bring back a proposed contract to, based on what the developer and architect work out, based on we've already met with them, gave them our spacing requirements toward the facility. And we'll see, it remains possible that may come back way over budget, and we have to see what next step is. As a reminder, the architect's estimate on this building, we had a study done on this building, and it's $3.5 million to bring this building up into compliance, which I don't think anybody would advocate spending on this building.
Right.
Just a little under $1 million was the estimate to do the minimum compliance issues, but that would only make the first floor of this building usable. The bottom floor can only be used then for storage. So then we would lose the office space, tech space, all of that down below. So would then still have us looking for somewhere else. So all that is continuing ongoing, and so we've developed a draft of a transition timeline with Arlington and Sandgate to administrations for Arlington, Sandgate, to start bringing the goal of all major functions are here probably by mid-March, so that we have a few more months towards the end with Bill Basic, their former superintendent, who was on staff with us to the end of June. So our goal is that we're up and running with minimal assistance by no later than mid-March, most duties here. Some have already transitioned, and so this timeline will bring more on each month, and as we merge these two supervisory unions.
So all administrative functions will come from this building at that point.
Now, our plan is to use the current superintendent's office up there on a rotating basis. One day we will rotate. We'll do like published office hours. So the HR director is there on Wednesdays, and I'm there half day on Tuesday. Assistant superintendent there, special ed directors there, tech director. All of those will have published office hours that will rotate so that we maintain a presence in Arlington.
And
Tim, did you have a question? Tim Newbold, I saw him raise his hand.
Yeah, I just had a quick question for Jim, if you don't mind. Jim, with the test to stay piece,
Yep.
are you going to do that in all the schools or just some of the schools? And
All the schools, yeah, that's our.
all the schools. And what about the families who haven't given you permission?
We haven't even gotten that far yet, because we just got our waiver from the state, and the nurses just went through the training this week. So,
Okay.
So that's why we don't plan on doing doing the test until after Thanksgiving, because the next step will be reaching out to families, with how that's going to work.
yeah, so you need
Yeah,
their,
if we don't have their permission to test, then
Yeah.
it'll be like they're not vaccinated, and they will have to quarantine and go if they're exposed. Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, the families who choose not to get vaccinated and maybe even choose not to do this testing, will the school then be just giving them packets of information while they're in quarantine, or will you be doing remote teaching for them?
No, we won't be doing remote teaching. We're not doing remote teaching as it is now either. We're not.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Just was curious. Thank you.
Tim, I'm so sorry. You broke up with your question. Could you just ask it one more time for me? I heard the answer, but I didn't hear your
My
question.
question was just, are they doing it in all the different schools? And then what about for families who opt not to either be tested or vaccinated?
Okay, thank you for that. And then the testing that you're doing, is that a quick turnaround? How quickly will you have those results, Jim?
I think there's going to be a rapid test, and
Okay.
we'll be allowed. I'm sorry, but I don't have all those details, because we don't have the test kits yet.
The ones they've been talking about are the 15-minute antigen
Yeah.
testing.
But it's not.
And
Yeah, it's going to be the rapid
Okay,
test.
thank you.
and so I'm a little confused. So if parents don't extend their consent for testing, how does the child stay in school at that point?
They wouldn't be able. they wouldn't be able to.
unless they but once they've quarantined, what happens on a daily basis for them?
They're like, there's stuff posted online by the teacher, work assignments posted that child can do remotely, but it's not like when we were in full COVID that, you know, there's a camera in the classroom.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, it's not a Zoom classroom or a Google classroom going on.
But the child is not in the classroom.
Correct. If they've been exposed to a positive case, the same protocols,
Right.
nothing changes from them than what would be happening to them right now, so.
Okay, but if they, how do they, I'm confused about how they actually get into class. They quarantine, then they can come into class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they're either showing symptoms or contact tracing has revealed that they've been exposed to somebody.
But
who is
if they have
positive.
no symptoms, then they're in class.
Right,
Okay.
if they have no symptoms or have not been exposed to somebody who's positive, then
Yeah.
they, of course, they would be in school. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I have a question, a different question about some of the money coming into the SU under ESSER grants, and I'm more interested in the money that's for facilities development. So you've described that before, but
So ESSER 3, which we haven't fully developed the plans yet or submitted them about how we spend that. What we did do was hire a project manager through Centerline
Right.
Architects.
that we did at the
Yeah.
last meeting. Yeah.
And they're doing site visits of all school buildings for an assessment purpose that will help with what work needs to determine what work needs to be done in these buildings, mainly around, ventilation projects.
Yes. So my question is our building included in that site visit?
So I believe the response that we've received is that it can't be.
It can't be,
Right.
and that's due to ESSER rules?
So I don't have that email in front of me, Ray, but I thought you had reached out to Renee for that response, and she had looked into that for you, and the answer came back from the state that it's not considered a public school building.
Yeah, well, it is a public school building, but
Building owned by the public.
Yeah,
it's owned by the public.
which the agency of education sees differently. That's the response I believe we received, that it is not part of this, because I know your building is not on the list of schools that are being visited by the architect. It's
Jim, when did you receive that information from the state?
I don't know, like I said, I'm not prepared to answer that in full because I
Is,
just. know the
well,
question coming, but
is that from recently, or is that from the previous?
Previous, the previous.
Right,
inquiry.
I knew
Yeah,
that, but
Right,
um,
so I'm saying a month ago, more longer than that, right?
well, no, that was when the other schools were doing those projects for
That was,
ventilation
that
in
was,
COVID
that was,
early.
yeah, with efficiency.
Yeah,
component, right.
Yep. So that's like 2000.
Mhm. I'll be happy to get that
19
to
or
you,
20.
but I don't have it tonight, but my understanding is you're not eligible.
I would like, I just want to make sure we see all that
Yeah.
information.
Yep. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, as we
Anybody else?
continue, I will look for it as we sit here, but I don't know how quickly I'm gonna be able to get it.
Actually, those heating engineers did come by the building, but then they decided it wasn't worth their while.
That was from the previous.
That was the previous one. That's the one I'm thinking of, and then ESSER funds were involved in supporting some ventilation upgrade for COVID. Were they or not? That was COVID relief funds. Losing track of the number of tranches of funding.
searching for that.
Jim, I'm not expecting an answer tonight.
Okay.
No, neither am I.
I just,
Okay.
I'm just posing it.
All right, I will duly note it then.
Thank you.
thanks.
So anything else?
No, any questions? Other questions I can answer for you?
All right. Did you attend any of the VSBA presentations last week?
Yes.
End of last week. I sat in on Friday. I see something up on the board here that looks like some of the professor from Harvard, to some extent, but do you have anything to comment there about that? Or
No. Other than I attend those meetings to hear what the Vermont School Board Association is telling school boards, so that as superintendent, I have a better
Right.
understanding of where board members are coming from and getting their information, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I did watch a bit of one of the House members that's on the committee that's attempting to do the reweighting of pupil factors for poverty, English language learning, rural characteristic of the school district or school, and so forth. Listen to that. I'm confused about whether that was something I saw as part of the SBA proceedings. I think it was actually. And so that meeting occurred today. They had a meeting today, which I was unable to attend. It was from 9 to 3 in the afternoon. That's my whole day.
So I did find the email, and
Yeah.
it's from Cassandra Ryan, who's the Director of Regulatory Compliance for the Montana Education, and this is to Renee. Renee, though the building is owned by the LEA, my understanding is that the programming occurring in the building is operated by an independent private school. Therefore, LEA ESSER funds could not be used since the improvements are not tied to LEA operations or services of the public schools. Hope this helps, but please reach out with additional questions or clarifications. That was August 18th
Of this year.
of this year. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I can forward that to you.
That's helpful. Thank you, Jim.
Yes. I'll forward it to Ray, and then you guys can have it from, if you want to pursue that. Yeah.
Right.
Because why we asked the question is when I follow this email trail, we had asked it to know whether we should include it in the scope of the RFP for the architectural services to look at the other buildings, because if they had said yes, we were going to include it in the scope, and with this answer, then we didn't.
Right.
So Jim, this person who gave you that opinion in August,
Yeah.
what's her,
She is Cassandra Ryan, Director of Regulatory Compliance for the Vermont Agency of Education.
okay,
But when I forward that to Ray, you'll have her email address.
good, thank you. I'm not sure what that means. Is she a lawyer or I guess an interpreter of statute?
Sort of compliance for grants and other federal and state dollars.
Right. So
You should have that now.
Yeah, thank you.
there's got to be some background on that opinion that she's put in,
Right.
right? There's got to
Yeah,
be,
there's no citing of anything in it, Matthew.
that's what I suspected. Thank you.
Thanks. So
Yeah, we had made the original inquiry with her on August 5th because we were going out. She responded on. Renee then reached out to her again on August 17th saying we still hadn't heard And then she responded on August 18th with what I just read to you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. So I really don't have much in my chair's report. You can look at a document that's in it's actually the student enrollment document that's FYI in the documents on the SU website for this meeting. And if you look on the last page, you see North Bennington students served elsewhere. There's a chart by grade and totals for where they're served and a grand total there, which this is the K-6 portion of our population of 149 students. And then I know that there are approximately 31 or 32 pre-K students. I forget that exact number. So total number of students is those two together, which is a little over 180 students at the moment. I don't expect more, but and I do know that a student moved out of the district, so I have to report that. But it was after the census period, so I haven't gotten around to it yet. And item B, that's the residency approvals, because everybody that's on that in that 149 has gone through residency review of some sort. And we don't force everybody to redo the affidavit. We just do recertification efforts, which are just asking for parents to confirm that they're still in the district and in various ways. That's particularly for the students who go to the other independents or to SDU, ESD. We don't try to make it a draconian approach, but we do like to remind them that they need to make their presence in our district known.
Just in the laundry room, I mean, just in the kitchen.
Ray, can you send me that document that you were just speaking to?
It's on the website.
Just in the kitchen.
It's on the website. Okay.
Yep.
It's on
It's on the SU website.
SU website. Okay.
Under our documents
Okay.
for this
Thank you.
meeting. And it's an extensive analysis of students throughout the SVSU. One thing is lacking at the moment, the early childhood, both the pre-K and the triple E show no figures at the moment. I assume that they're still processing that. But it does show our numbers. As I said, there's 5 at Highland Hall, 6 at Sacred Heart and Grace. Long Trail was 1, SVU ESD School 17, South Shore 11, and VSNB at 109, adding up to 149, which is obviously there are more students than we had last year, both because we added Grace and Sacred Heart students, and we've had increase in other areas. So and I don't have a document for you to review on the assessment proposal, and I don't really want to run through various documents I've written before. It will be a compilation of that and smoothing it out. So in terms of other I received an email from Judy Brower yesterday, was it? That there's going to be a little ceremony on the 18th, is it, Tim? You want to speak to that? For the signage at the village school?
Yeah, so the sign that was just installed this fall is going to be dedicated to Pete Niles, who's a member of the board and a longtime community member. And so we've invited our board and community members to come on the 18th at about 4:45 to do an installation ceremony.
And Mr. Niles, who passed away several years ago, was well known to students and community members, and went around tapping maple trees with kids from John Ulrich's class, among other things. Concerned himself with safety issues at the school, and was a gentleman and a great supporter of education in North Bennington.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
So let's see, is there anything else in other? If anybody have an other that they wish to speak to? All right, well, we've paid our bills, we've heard from the superintendent, and we have an event if we choose to go to, which I will try to be there for honoring Pete and seeing the new sign. And I have one little story that Sherry Swartz sent me about the ginkgo tree on the campus, that the crossing guard was doing his job, and he noticed that all the leaves from the ginkgo tree dropped at one time, basically, which is on November 5th, which was when the Lincoln Square ginkgo tree also dropped all its leaves. So, and he was so interested in it, he came in and said something to Sherry about it. So she reported that to me. So I thought that was interesting because
I missed the whole thing when they fell. Normally I see them and then they got sucked up too quick by our
yes, right.
you know,
It's an annual event of interest in North Bennington to watch the ginkgo tree lose its leaves and figure out if you can get there at the right time. It's always after a frost, and usually a clear, cool or chilly morning when the sun hits the frost and weakens it, then the leaves just go fluttering down in various ways, and lots of different flight paths and trajectories. But I'm glad this crossing guard noticed it, because it's a phenomenon.
Yep.
All right, well, I'm going to close the meeting.
Ray, can
Thank
you
very
hear
much.
me?
Yes,
Now we
I
can.
can,
Okay.
but
so I
you're
just-
listed as muted on your screen.
I am, because
Oh,
now
but
I'm
you're on the
calling in
phone.
as well.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
right.
Just wanted to report to the board that today was the last day to pay taxes. As of this evening, there's still over $200,000 outstanding, but I expect a lot of that will be coming in the next couple of days. There is no mail service tomorrow, so we'll see what's that. Mail today was much lighter than I would have expected it to be. So I'm just wondering if that's not just a delay at the post office. I hope that is the case and not a indication that delinquent taxes are higher than they typically are. So I am expecting it to be a mail delay. Nevertheless, there was a large check, $160,000 that I deposited a couple of days ago, 2 days ago, to the graded school district account. That is a prepayment towards the current year tax amounts that will be forthcoming, and that reconciliation will be done November 22nd. And so after that comes in, well, there is sufficient funds with that prepayment to cover the warrant. After November 22nd, we'll see what is available to be done. And at that point in time, I will contact People's Bank to find out what the payoff is for the line of credit and make sure that gets done and minimize interest owed on that. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you want to speak to the treasurer's assistant item that was on the agenda, which I only there because I discussed that with you at the
Yes.
at the vote, the Mount Anthony vote for the athletic field.
Sure. So briefly, here's the situation. I am retired and I would like to be retired. I don't want to be idle, but I don't necessarily need paying jobs. So it is my intention to work out of these things over the next couple of years. I am not leaving any position until I feel there is a succession plan in place. I feel that we as a collective unit have worked hard to get good processes set up in the last 7 years, and I don't want to see them just go by the wayside, and certainly would not want someone to feel they should come into this position without training required. 2 people have looked at the work and have respectfully declined. So just keep your ears out. If there is somebody you feel might be interested, I've got a brief write-up as to what the functions are and what the time is that's required. So this is just kind of like looking at no more than a year and a half to 2 years advance notice for the board to. I am scouring to find the right candidate, but I can use your help to do so.
Mary, my question that I had when I was asked about this before, does the person need to be a North Bennington resident?
I don't know whether your prudential board has a requirement to do so, because I serve 3 different functions and they're independent, they're separate. What I'm talking about for this board is the North Bennington Graded School District Treasurer. It would be my assumption that it should be within the graded school district, because there is a certain amount of service as well as compensated work that goes along with this, in my opinion, if that helps.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't recall that there's anything in our charter that says anything about it. And for instance, the delinquent tax collector, which is a role you also fill, is something we vote on annually at the March meeting, the
Yes.
district meeting. We vote on the treasurer every 2 years or 3 years. But I don't recall if there's a residency requirement within the district. It's just that has been the way it's been working under the 20+ years that I've been on this board.
It is, after giving this some thought, it is my opinion that a good fit for this position is the graded school district treasurer and the separately elected at the village annual meeting delinquent tax collector. Because delinquent taxes, well, all taxes, are 80+ education taxes, and the delinquent taxes do have a significant impact on the cash flow of the non-functioning graded school district. So to my mind, it makes sense to have whatever the treasurer for this, the graded school district, also be the delinquent tax collector for the village. You cannot break up the bill and say, well, I'll collect one piece of it and you collect the other piece of it. So the delinquent tax collector has to collect whatever is delinquent, whether it is education or municipal.
Yep.
But the vast majority is education.
Right. All right. And I had meant to ask Tim if he wanted to speak a little bit to how the village school is doing in terms of probably basically we were talking about COVID information here.
Sure, we've basically had a similar situation to what Jim was describing earlier, in that we've had more cases than we, we literally had one just scratch the surface last year, and we've already had, I think, at least 8 at this point that have been positive cases within the school and have caused a lot of closures, in some cases, in some grades, multiple times. So we're excited about the vaccine as something that may really impact our population. We are already doing the surveillance testing, and I think that has been a nice layer of protection for us. We're looking into the test to stay protocols, but the surveillance testing took a lot of logistics to figure out. The test to stay is even more complicated. So how you do that when you have to have the students waiting around for 15 minutes while you're waiting for the results, things like that are pieces that we have to figure out. And then there's also the piece that, none of our students are going to be fully vaccinated until after the winter break. We have a couple in 6th grade, but that's it. Those are really the only kids that have been eligible. So we'll be facing these decisions over the next few weeks and months to really figure out exactly what's going to be the best thing for our student population. But I would say it's been more challenging this year than it was last year. There's no doubt about it. But I think the school has done a remarkable job. The staff has been unbelievable, and I just have been impressed with the work that they do on a daily basis.
We have 7 comments in chat. Open that up. I don't know if there's anything we need to respond to there.
I would just
Okay.
say thank you, to Tim. You really have done an amazing job. So as a parent and a board member, thank you very much.
Yeah. I think we can all agree with that. And anything else in the chat? Just
No,
messages
nothing
from here. Okay. Okay. So I think we can conclude our meeting. Thank you very much, Tim, for being here, and Mary for persevering through the problems of communication here. And
And Lori and all of you.
Lori. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it is Lori and everybody else. We just hold down the fort. So thank you to everybody at the village school for all their work.
Yeah.
And thanks to all of you for your volunteer work in making this happen. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. I'm going to declare that we're done.
If there are any veterans out there,
seven-
tomorrow is Veterans Day. Thank you for your service.
7:15. Yep.